Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka blenderhd, blenderhd. This is the show, as you know already. We go over a little bit about yesterday's slate. Talk a little bit about today's slate, mostly DFS strategy related. This is not a pick show. Remember, I answer your questions in the YouTube chat. I see you guys in there. Jerome Lewis, Daniel Hutchins, Frederick Dude, Jupocalypse, Edward Brown, Sal Correo, Matt Mears, Woo Woo, Jade Train, Doug Montgomery, Jesse Atfield. You know what to do. First thing in the morning. Keep my apple juice cold by hitting those thummy thumbs. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs anywhere, thumbs sideways. Just click around a bunch, right? Click everything on YouTube. It helps somehow. It tells YouTube that you like us, right? Or don't like us, or just care about us, or who knows? Who knows what it does? I just get told you got to keep on doing that. I have no idea. Yesterday we had big GPPs on both sites. I was in first place on FanDuel for a while, for a little bit, and then not. I was close on both sites. I had sweats going. I had lineups towards the top. Didn't get there all the way. But it was a profitable day yesterday. Being mostly wrong. That's what happens. That's what all you need is a lineup or two to get towards the top, and you could have a profitable day being mostly wrong. Mostly wrong. Frederick Duke says, do we need to replace Blender with the legendary Mike Butts for our strategy advice? Right. Mike Butts and Big Daddy Fatty. Are those the two first? Did they end up still in first and second? Yep, there we go. Mike Butts and Big Daddy Fatty. Right. I tweeted that out. I have to tell my wife, like, oh, I didn't win first place tonight in DFS. Oh, well, who'd you lose to? It's like I lost to Mike Butts and Big Daddy Fatty. Right. A little embarrassing, right? You see here, I had a lineup. It was working and I had better lineups on FanDuel. Oh, here's 39th place. This lineup was close to the top before. It was in the top 10 going in, right? Yeah, because I didn't have Darvish. Right? Basically White Sox. It's a White Sox. The 2 home runs from the Nationals and a home run from the Yankees. I mean, for most nights, this would be a pretty good lineup, right? Buehler, Kikuchi, White Sox, right? White Sox were overowned on DraftKings and underowned on FanDuel, I think. So I played White Sox on FanDuel, and I went way under on DraftKings. Still ended up with some lineups. Excuse me. So yeah, both sides. I played 150 on both sides because they had the cheapo poor, 150 max. When they put it down to like $5, $8 like that, then I'm more likely to play 150. And same thing on DraftKings on FanDuel. But of course on FanDuel we don't have results DB. But on DraftKings, I you can even see here, like here's my exposures. Right, compared to everyone else's, like Tim Anderson, like I barely 5% exposure. He's 23% owned. Right, I purposely under on Kellenic, under on Madrigal, under on Vaughn, under on Judge. Right, he was much chalkier on FanDuel. Taylor Ward, under on the Angels, barely any Mercedes, under on Ohtani. Right, under on Nelson. I don't even know why he was 14% owned. I guess the Twins were owned. I was under on that. Seager, under on the Mariners, under on Trout, right? You're like, oh, I'm under on all the chalk, on all the double-digit owned guys. But then who did I have? Well, here we go. Braves, Mets, Cubs. I had a ton of the Cubs. Nationals. Some Padres. Right, see, Tigers against Kikuchi. So here's the Mets. Pilar got hit in the face with a ball yesterday. See, look, 19% Soto, 16% bets. I had Dodgers also against Bumgarner. So here's where all my ownership is. Castro, Scoop, Pilar, Soto, Betts, Pujols, right? He playing up for the Dodgers. Justin Turner, way over. Sheldon Noose, Swanson, Riley, Baez. Look, Baez was 4% owned. So much. Right. Look at that. Look at how many good players are this low owned. Look down here. Right. I even had the 10% Domingo Leyba because he fit in the shortstop spot. And then I also played the pitcher spot. What I did yesterday is I made a group, did not play Cole and Darvish together. I didn't mind playing either. I mean, I played plenty of both. Played more Darvish than Cole and less Buehler. But I didn't want to have the same combos. Like Cole Darvish was just going to be in just an overowned pitching combo. So I was more likely to go up and down at pitcher. So I was avoiding the cheap hitters. I wanted to get expensive Cubs and expensive Dodgers and expensive even Yankees. Play Acuna, play the Braves, play Freeman Braves, Acuna stacks. Because most people were playing double stud lineups, which is my style, the way that DraftKings prices have been going this year, there's no such thing as a vomit stack anymore. You have enough of these 2K hitters that every stack ends up with someone that's like 2,800, so you could play the stack, and then one-offs, you end up with a $2,600 one-off that you could use, and then you could jam in 2 10K pitchers. Typically, that's what I used to do, and you play the vomit stack because then everyone wants to pay up at bats. But now that now with the pricing, people are jamming in aces and playing cheap hitters. I'm doing the reverse, right? I'm trying to go up and down. So I'm playing lineups where I'm getting one of Cole, Darvish, or Buehler, and then I'm playing it with Kikuchi, John Gray. I mean, obviously, he didn't do well, right? Casey Mai, I had 5. Look, Casey Mai's at 20, 30 points. No one's going to play him because people were playing the Mariners. That's why I played Jordan Lyles. He had 23 points. Why did I play Jordan Lyles? Because people were playing the Yankees. J.A. Happ. Why did I play him? Because people were playing the White Sox. I mean, I didn't play Bumgarner. I didn't play Lester. I mean, because I'm stacking against them. I have more lineups than I'm stacking against them. But since I was going under on the White Sox, on the Mariners, on the Yankees, I said, why don't I just throw the cheap pitcher and hopefully they have a good game. That, at single-digit ownership. So that's what I did. That's why I said I was mostly wrong yesterday. I still made money being mostly wrong. Because my White Sox Cubs lineups on FanDuel did very well. I think my highest lineup I think was 10th, 12th. But I think I had 5 or 6 lineups in the top 50, top 100, something like that. I made money on FanDuel. DraftKings I broke even because I had so little of the White Sox. But that's what I was doing. But you can even see here across the field. I mean, most people did not get that different at pitcher. I got them more different than most of the field. Like Max Fried, a lot of guys didn't have him. I played 12%. But it was mostly Cole, Darvish, Buehler, and if you went down, you played Kikuchi. Other than that, there's barely anything here. Yeah, Doodle Life played a little Mize and Walker and Lyles, John Gray, but most of the sharper players just jammed in. Buehler, Kikuchi, Darvish, Cole. I mean, you could have done that. But I didn't want to compete against those types of lineups. I thought better fast the first place was to not play Cole and Darvish together. Because obviously Cole didn't do well. 64% of the field died with him. And then if we take a look at hitter exposure, okay, Yuta went with the White Sox more so on DraftKings and the Angels. Yeah, so Yuta just said, I'm going to play all the chalk. Jam the chalk. So, I mean, I could just take a look at the coloring and know who's more contrarian than most. So, like, to me, you see more yellow here. That means I was actually more contrarian than most of the field. Lariotto also, because this green is just Bueller here. So Lariotto, he still played some White Sox, but barely any Kelenic, especially as a one-off. Barely any Judge, barely any Ward, barely any Ohtani, barely any Seager, Trout, Haniger. So basically, not Seattle, low on Seattle, low on the Angels, low on the Yankees, which is similar to me. But he still had plenty of the White Sox. So that's what I'm looking for. This is what I do for Results TV. I look and say who built more similar lineups. See, look, like Lariotto, no Urshela. So like, no, yeah, he basically said the Yankees, get out of here. I actually had more of the Yankees than he did. But I had more of the Cubs. Well, no, Cubs, Contreras. It's some guys with Cubs. Mets. Still Mets are above. I was much higher, and you give me 7% Ronald Acuna, I'm going to play it on an 8-game slate. Get out of here. Yeah, you got a 0. Yeah, thank you. But let's take a look down here. The Albies. Yeah, I was more high on the Braves than most of the field. But even with the Nationals, okay. Based on the select people that I'm looking at. Much higher on the Dodgers than anyone else. Right, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Yeah, but when the chalk gets there on DraftKings, when the chalk gets there, what am I supposed to do? I do have some lineups, but not many. Right? I showed you before that lineup that was it's one of my few White Sox stacks. Right, the winning lineup up here was a White Sox stack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Hayward, Ohtani, a 3-point Eddie Rosario, and then Darvish Bueller, which was the nut combo. One lineup. Well, there you go. You get there. Big Daddy Fatty. Big Daddy Fatty. Probably a similar lineup. Oh, Texas. Well, this is a weird lineup. A 4-man Texas with 2 White Sox, 2 Angels, a 4-2-2. Yeah, that's one way to win with to just leverage against Cole. But it's not like you needed these exact players. You could have gotten these points from the rest of the White Sox stack. Right? Yeah, Willie Calhoun, Adolis Garcia, they both got home runs. But you could have found those home runs elsewhere. It wasn't like a double dog or anything. There's a single bullet over here. Texas, 4-3-1. White Sox, Texas, Jonathan Scope, Darvish Bueller. Yeah, want to take a shot, this would be the shot. I don't mind this lineup that much at all. 4-3-1. Okay, gets there. JP over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5-man. 5. Say 5-1-1-1. 3 one-offs. Casey Mize. Over here, 2% owned. I don't mind this. It's a single bullet, but I don't mind it at all. This is fine. I mean, Mike Butts won by 10 points up here. Even with a 3 from Rosario. Jay Butlero, let's see. Yeah, White Sox stack. Turner, Lindor, right. Basically didn't get there with Turner. Turner, dud. Lindor, not really. Not really there. Andrew Vaughn was 19% owned. Jesus. I mean, even Danny Mendick he hit a grand slam. He's 6% owned on DraftKings. Like, really? Seriously? He was 2% owned on FanDuel. As I said, the sites are different. Like, that's why I did much better on FanDuel yesterday, because I played more White Sox. The Yankees were a super chalk. Yankees and Angels were super chalk on FanDuel. Not as much so on DraftKings. So on FanDuel, I'm over the field on the White Sox, but on DraftKings, And look at the ownership. They were higher owned than I thought they were going to be. I knew they were going to be owned. But 23% for Anderson, 19% for Madrigal, Vaughn, 19%. Mercedes, it's not like Mercedes was cheap. He was 4,600. 16%. Moncada, 10%. No, I'll be onto that all the time. I have no problem with that. The more ownership I saw them have, the better I felt. Until they score 16 runs, of course, on DraftKings. My FanDuel lineups are fine. That's what you do. You diversify. Let's see. Let's go through the YouTube chats some more. Daniel Hutchings managed a 0.4% ROI yesterday on 315 entries. Okay. Hey, it's better than losing. Most days you're going to lose. You can have minus 10% ROI, 20% ROI. 0.4% ROI is a pretty good, it's a above average day for GPP players. Grant Brown asks, could you cover how to limit getting the same pitching pairs? You just use a group in LineupHQ. I mean, I can show you right here. Right? So I'm looking at today's slate. Let's just say whatever. I mean, who knows? We don't even know who's pitching for two teams. I don't know what's going on. So let's sort this by fantasy points. Let's say you didn't want Wheeler and Snell in this together. You just open up a group, create a new group. Wheeler, Snell. Minimum 0, maximum 1. So that's all it does is say no more than use at most one player. Done. There. So it'll make lineups and never play them together. So let's say you want to make sure to use at least Wheeler, Snell, Lynn, Woodruff, Urias or something, whatever. I'm just making it up. You can make a group, Snell, Urias. Let's say you wanted to make sure you used at least one of these, or at most one, exactly one of these in every lineup. You just do 1-1, minimum 1, maximum 1. You never get them together. You just use exactly one of these. It would be Wheeler and some other pitcher, Snell and some other pitcher, Woodruff and some other pitcher. But you would guarantee to get all of them. If you use 0-1, it just means don't put them together. But it doesn't mean I'm going to even use any of them. So you use player groups in LineupHQ to do that. I don't use groups in MLB often at all. This is the type of stuff that I use it for. And you can control this in a different way as well. You could control this through exposures. You could control this through total lineup ownership. So, for instance, yesterday, like you see, Cole is 64% owned. Darvish is 38% owned. Like if I set my minimum ownership, let's say, if this was the projected, obviously this is the actual, at 100. I don't want my total lineup to be owned more than 100%. Well, obviously, you're never going to get Cole and Darvish together. Because this adds up to 103% as it is. So you can't get it, right? So if you went in here, if you went to build rules and you set your maximum total lineup ownership to 100%, right? 90% or whatever the hell you want to do, that's really low. Like obviously you'll never have to make that rule. Because the projected ownership of those two combined pitchers are over 90. I think yesterday we had Cole projected for like 48% and Darvish for 45%. So that's 93%. So if you left the total max total, even if you left it at 100, even if you left it at 110 or something like that, which is over that, right? 48 plus 45 is what? 93? If you put it at 110, you may still get some Cole Darvish lineups. But they'll obviously be with a very low-owned batters. Because it's already using 93% of this 110. So the whole rest of the lineup could only take up 17% total ownership. Which means you're playing some contrarian something or other. The last 8 spots for 17% ownership. So this is one way to not limit. Hey, If you could find me a lineup that is only that owned with Cole and Darvish together, fine, give it that to me. But other than that, most likely don't play them together. Right? If you leave this at 140 or something, then you may get a lot more of the chalk pitcher combinations with a chalk stack, and then like a 1% on one-off, and which you can do. So this is another way to control that type of thing. But a lot of times I'm already manually playing lineups that are low owned as it is, so the number doesn't matter that much to me often. But I'll start making lineups and I'll see Cole Darvish, like just constant Cole Darvish. Like I'm getting like no diversification on that. Like Cole, and then I see it's like it's going to be the most owned pitching combination. So I'm just like, screw it. I'll just make a group and just separate them. Play them, but just not together. It's like that automatically. Then I don't have to worry about it anymore. Unless a Cole Darvish lineup wins. Well, then I couldn't have made that. That's the choice. That's the choice that I made. That's the choice that I made. Let's see. Yeah, it's Freed was people are talking about Freed in the chat. Freed was only 3% owned, 3.7% owned on FanDuel. A lot of time, most people's default is to pay up a pitcher on FanDuel. And I think yesterday's slate, you're more likely than not doing that because you had three aces. So one of them is going to get there probably. But I like taking advantage of some of the cheaper pitchers, especially when there's expensive players when you could play. Like you could play Acuna and Trout, and I mean a lot of times you're still leaving 1,000 on the table. So yes, I had some Freed, but he couldn't get the win. He couldn't. I mean, I had some lineups up there. I had some Freed lineups. I had some Bueller lineups. I had some Darvish and Cole. I had a bunch of lineups on FanDuel. FanDuel was fine. DraftKings not so much. Corey Johnson said Cole was a fish play yesterday for sure at his ownership. The bat had Darvish higher projected and he was lower owned. Made no sense. Well, because not everyone uses the bat. The bat had Darvish as the highest raw point pitcher yesterday. Cole was only third. I think Bueller was higher than him. And Michael Dompier is saying that he went with a lot of Angels, and then Trout just leaves the game early. So that like kind of ruins most Angel stacks. Although the winning lineup, the winner on FanDuel had Trout in his lineup. The winning GPP lineup in the $5 whatever, the large GPP, Trout's 3 points in his outfield. So you don't have to be perfect. You don't got to be perfect. Michael Dompier. How much salary did Big Daddy Fatty use? I don't know. Let's see. All right. Mike Butts left 700 on the table. Fatty used it all. Right. Most people use most of it. Right. You'd look down here. 0, 0, 500, 300. 700. Depending on the pricing, usually I don't mind leaving up 1,000 on the table. Not on purpose, but I mean, if that's the way it fits. See, 1,900. Fat 69. Are you related? Is Fat 69 related to Big Daddy Fatty? Maybe. Are they multi-accounting? Who knows? Here's a White Sox stack. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ohtani, Ramirez with only 5, and Rizzo. Darvish, Freed, which could have been the nut combo if it wasn't. If Freed could have lasted another inning, or the Braves could have scored a run, or something. The Braves could have done something. But don't be that concerned about spending all $50K or all $35K on FanDuel. Am I making lineups with 1,900 salary remaining? Not necessarily. But on some slates, I will. On smaller slates, definitely. You're pairing a cheap stack with a cheap 3-man and playing a cheap pay. You're leaving 2,000 on the table. I mean, okay, that's the only way to make that combo. Sometimes you'll see, sometimes you'll even run in LineupHQ. You'll use the projections and see some of the higher projected lineups are like 49.2, 49.5. I mean, they're better projected and leaving 800 on the table. So if you're going to constrain yourself by like, oh, I got to spend at least 49.5, you may be missing lineups that are actually better than those lineups. Michael Dompier says, I was shocked that Scope was only 6% owned at first base. Yeah, on DraftKings, yeah, Scope was, well, I mean, because it's just, there were so many cheap players. Right, for 6%, but he has 2,300. People are playing Kikuchi. Remember, Kikuchi was popular. He was 32% owned, so that's going to automatically lower the ownership for Scope because they're not going to play batters against their own pitcher. And we already had Vaughn, like people are Vaughn, right? If you're Kelenic in the outfield, if you're paying down at second base with Madrigal, Taylor Ward, like Garlic, even. I mean, there's all these 3K and under guys. That do you need a first baseman that's 2,300 also? Who are you paying up for? I mean, even if you're doing Cole Darvish, you only need you only need 2 of these guys, right, to fit into your lineup. Right, and 20% is going to be Kelenic, 20% Madrigal, 20%, 19% Vaughn, 16% Ward. I mean, where does that go? 13% Garlic. Plus a cheap catch, you can always punt with the catcher. So yeah, that's where Scope's ownership goes down. Combination of all those other players that are cheap, plus the fact that Kikuchi is being owned. Now, from a leverage perspective, it's great. That's why I played a ton of Scope. You can take a look here. I was way over, right? 16%, right? I had tons of Scope. Kikuchi's owned. He's overlooked because people are playing these other cheap players. I'm going under. I'm under on Madrigal, under on Kelenic, under on Vaughn, under on Ward. So where's my salary saver? Well, it's probably going to be Scope now at first base. Let's see. Let's see. Why pick Cole? Because he's the best. He's the second best pitcher in the major league, with an insane strikeout rate against the strikeout team. Insane strikeout rate with no walks, and he can pitch the whole game. Why pick Cole? He's the best pitcher. But good pitchers have bad games. Sure, okay, that happens. There's no reason not to play Cole yesterday. The reason I was under on Cole is because compared to Darvish, compared to pretty much primarily Darvish, he was overowned. Darvish projected better than Cole in the bat. I knew that Cole was going to be more popular, so I'm like, I'm going to play more Darvish compared to Cole. But I also knew Darvish was going to be popular. I knew Kikuchi was going to be popular. How do I get different otherwise? I ended up playing more Bueller. Not as much. But I mean, obviously my J.A. Happ lineups went down in flames. 10% of those lineups gone. Well, why'd you play Happ? Because look at the White Sox. Look how chalky they are. So if the White Sox fail, it kills 20% of the lineups in the contest. And what's correlated with the White Sox failing? J.A. Happ actually pitching well. So as the White Sox lineups come down, my Happ lineups go even further up. That's why you do it. And if it doesn't work out that way, then it just goes the opposite direction, right? And then that's my Happ lineups are going down while the White Sox are bye-bye. They're at the top. That's the reason. I wanted to find pitchers in the mid-range to play. So, yeah. But do I want to play 40% Max Fried? Do I want to play 40% Kikuchi? I mean, I could. I said, let me spread it around. I said, Jordan Lyles. Well, why'd you play Jordan Lyles? I said, oh, the Yankees were going to be owned. It's 5,400 or something. So the Yankees lineups don't do well. Lyles probably had a good enough game, especially for how cheap he was. And then those lineups look so much different than other lineups in the contest. Those are lineups with my Braves, my Dodgers. All right, they have Betts and Turner and Acuna and Freeman and Contreras and Baez. You know, like just overspending essentially. They hit a ceiling, and it works out that way. I have a chance at first place. If I'm going to just jam and chalk, how am I getting there? Okay. Go over yesterday's slate, and then now the contest on both sides just turned into garbage again, right? If they had these contests like they did yesterday, I know the payout structure is horrible, but at least it's a $5 contest. It's a $4 contest on FanDuel. Like $4 and $5 contests, I don't care if the field size is, but I'm playing large field anyway. Whether it's 18,000 entries or 70,000 entries, doesn't matter that much to me. But I'd rather play 100, 150 lineups in than have a $15 to $18 entry fee and the payout structure still be bad. If it's $15 to $18 entry fee on DraftKings, make it, and it's 14,000 entries total, still make it 20,000 at first. It just cut that. It just doesn't justify me playing a ton of lineups. Keep it should be under a single digit entry fee. That's fine. And then I don't mind the payout structure being bad. I can't invest 100 lineups at 18, 15 by the $1,500. And that's not even $1,500 is not even 10th place in the contest. So I can't do it. I won't be playing DraftKings GPP today. I'll play on FanDuel. The payout structure on FanDuel sucks also. 30,000 to first, 10,000 to second, 1,000 to sixth. How bad is that? But it's $4. So if I'm going to multi-enter, it'll be there. I mean, I could obviously do the 20 max on DraftKings, but I'm not going to just build 20 lineups for that. I'm going to build a bunch of lineups for a site or not. Yesterday, I had to juggle 2 sites, which I don't do that often. Just barely got it in. Barely got my DraftKings lineups in. So if there are any questions in the chat, feel free to ask them. Got the apple juice. Hit the thumbs up button. Today we got a 14-game slate. I have no idea what's going on. Dirty weather? Any weather concerns? Let's see. Oh, we got some orange here. Yellow orange in Minnesota. Yellow orange in Chicago with the winds blowing in. Kansas City. Okay, so we're also saying the riskiest game on the slate is the Brewers Royals, which is going to affect Woodruff, right? Let's take a look at this pitcher. Pitcher. Okay, Wheeler actually projects better than Woodruff by the bat. At least the 10:42 a.m. version of the bat. Got some cheap pitchers, or Chris Bubik, right? That's going to affect him, right? Tucker Davidson, is that going to be a thing today? How many pitches is he going to pitch? Got Blake Snell. Seems like Snell-Wheeler combination, right? We got Snell here against Colorado. So, I mean, if he pitches, yeah, let's see. Yeah, he actually projects for higher raw points. So we got Snell, Wheeler. Let's say we'd lock Snell and Wheeler in. And what do we get? McCann, Bell. Okay, we got Tampa Bay going into Baltimore to face Matt Harvey. That'll be a thing. So I'm assuming Tampa's going to be popular today, right? Right. We could take a look at some of this stuff by just looking at the bat stacks page. That's what I like doing. Go to the stack projections. This is for DraftKings. So obviously the pricing is different. So if we look here, so Brewers against Bubik, Pirates against Gant. I mean, from a point per dollar perspective. I mean, these are like the point per dollar plays. But Tampa, highest ceiling. Look at that. Way highest ceiling. Rays, Braves, Phillies, Nationals. Because the bet loves the Nationals. But still, Tigers and Brewers are up there as long as that game plays against Bubich. Go all the way at the bottom, like Snell. The Twins are at the bottom. The Marlins, the Royals. Right, against good pitchers. Spencer Turnbull, okay. But like look at the Pirates. The Pirates are a great point per dollar, but like their ceiling is horrible. Right, against John Gant. I mean, because they're probably cheap as hell. I don't even think I've played a Pirates deck this season yet. I'm not even sure. I don't remember. Maybe very early, maybe the first week of the season, maybe. Yeah, because look how cheap they are. Look at this. Stallings is batting cleanup. That's how bad their lineup is. Okay, when Jacob Stallings is batting cleanup, Frazier, Newman, Reynolds, Stallings, Polanco, Will Craig, Ben Gatt. I mean, look. I mean, this Adam Frazier's 4,100. Brian Reynolds is 3,500, and everyone else is less than 3K on DraftKings. Right? This is DraftKings. Yeah, this is DraftKings. This is what I mean by like we have too much. I mean, too much cheap hitting that vomit stacks matter anymore. I mean, look, let's go through the lineups and see how many stacks, how many teams you could stack legitimately and still not spend over like 21K or something for a 5-man. Of course, you're probably going to have to take it cheapy. So, like, look at the Phillies. Like, okay, Segura, Harper, and Real Muto were expensive, but Brad Miller's sitting there at 3K. And you could take Maton or Herrera or something like that, right? As long as you take Brad Miller, I mean, you got what? McCutcheon, 5. I mean, it's still not that expensive. You could still stack. You get some salary relief with one guy in the Phillies stack. Look at the Rays. Yeah, Brandon Lowe is 5,100, but look, Meadows, Choi, Margot, the catcher. I mean, like you could make a stack, no problem with this. Orioles, same thing. Look, I mean, other than Mancini, like everyone's pretty cheap. The Mets, look. I mean, most of their other than Alonso and Lindor and Smith. I mean, McCann, VR, Peraza, this guy, John Shui. I don't even know how to pronounce that name. You could make that stack, no problem. The Braves are much harder. That's why I played them, because I thought you can't do it as much. Right, 6,357, 5K, 5,500, 40. See, he's looking at 4,100, 3,600. You get still an expensive stack. Okay, so this Braves is a little bit more expensive. There's the Red Sox, Blue Jays. See, it's going to be like if Kiki Hernandez is back, Verdugo's 3,600. Yeah, Martinez, Bogarts, and Devers are expensive, but you could build a stack. Renfroe is 3K. I mean, you could do something. Same thing here. Gurriel or Davis or the bottom of the Toronto lineup. It's expensive, but you could make something happen. The White Sox, same thing. Vaughn is 2,100. The Twins. Arias is 3,100. Larnach is whatever, is 2,300. You could make the Twins stack. I mean, look, we're just going through it. Look at the Nationals. Bell is 3,300. Castro's 3,200. There you go. There's a cheaper National stack. Cubs, not so much. Right, you get Duffy here, but most of these guys are expensive. Okay. Pirates are already cheap. Carlson's 2,900. Carpenter's 3,100. Right, you could make the Cardinal stack, no problem. Still cheap and still play two good pitchers. The Yankees, Brett Carr, you have to use the bottom of the order, but they're they're expensive now. Okay. The Rangers are always cheap. The Brewers are disgustingly cheap. Right? Tyrone Taylor, Avi Garcia's 3,300. Right? You could do whatever you want here. The Royals, Benintendi's 3,300 right in the middle. Ryan O'Hearn, Solaire's still only 3,400. Okay, you could do that. I mean, we're going team by look. Look how many teams you could build a 5-man stack and still get 2 good pitchers because there's some rando. Why is he so much cheaper than everyone else in the lineup? The Indians, Rosario, Ramirez. You could make, okay, there you go. There's a 21K stack. Upton, Ward, Rojas, Iglesias. I mean, even if Trout's in the lineup, you could still make that stack. The Astros are expensive. Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. Throw in Maldonado at the bottom for catcher, and then it gets cheaper. Okay, you could probably do that also. Seth Brown for the A's. Chad Pinder's in there. I mean, Olson's only 4K, I guess. I think it's Javier, but whatever. That's reasonable enough. The Rockies, I mean, now Connor Joe, Fuentes, I mean, that's obvious. The Padres, look, Tommy Pham's 3,100 betting cleanup, right? Profar's in there. You could make a cheap stack. The Tigers are always cheap. The Mariners are always cheap, right? Kyle Lewis, JP Crawford, you could do that. The Diamondbacks, Andy Young's in there. I mean, you could find some way. Even the Dodgers, expensive, but Matthew Beatty, Gavin Lux, Pujols or something in there. I mean, this is why do you think I'm not talking about vomit stacks much this year anymore? Just too easy to make good stacks. You could take 3 or 4 good hitters from any team and plunk them in with a 2K guy that's batting 6th in their lineup that shouldn't be 2K. And then you could there you go. Wheeler, Snell. They just plug those guys in. So to me, in GPPs this year, I've been trying to do the opposite. Not all the opposite. I'm not building all my lineups like that. But doing lineups where I find those expensive teams. Like I find, Jordan Yamamoto's pitching for the Mets today. Is that really happening? This guy could give up like 17 home runs in one game. I hope he is pitching. Then I'll play the Braves, and no one can pay up for the Braves because you look at this. You go to LineupHQ and you go, how do you play 2 good pitchers with the Braves? You can't. Right? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. See if we stack. This is how you could use LineupHQ as a research tool. Let's stack the Braves. Let's stack the Braves expensively. So we're going to play Acuna. We're just going to lock them into the lineup preview. Freeman, Ozuna, Albies, Swanson. There we go. The shortstop. Optimize from there. Davidson's, you have to go all the way down. Miller, Meadows, right? You have to find some cheap pitcher. Really cheap pitcher. You still have Miller in there, you still have McCann in there, and Meadows is 3,800, so I get that. Right? So instead of Swanson, let's go Riley. What does that give us? Yeah, Maton, Taylor, right. Some cheap one-offs. Snell, Heaney. Okay. Still, you're going to need cheaper pitching. Some cheap one-offs in order to do this. So it's going to be less popular. And they have a ceiling. The Braves show up and put up 15 runs, and then who cares what the prices are anymore? I mean, you take a look at the Boston, same way. It's right. Well, there's kind of cheap now, right? Because of Kiki Hernandez and Verdugo. It's another expensive team on this slate. The Yankees, I guess. Right? The Yankees, if you don't play LeMahieu even, and you go Voit, Judge, Urshela, Sanchez. Even if you go cheap with Gardner, do you go cheap with Gardner? Let's say you go cheap with Gardner. Lefty against faulty, because everyone likes playing lefties against faulty. You optimize from there. You get Heaney, Snell with Peraza, Adames, and Meadows. So you get Rays. You punt at second base, or you punt at pitcher. I mean, it's still doable. I mean, even this lineup that I'm looking at is not like horrible, right? The Rays against Harvey sounds good to me. Snell and Heaney, Sounds good to me, right? Peraza doesn't maybe, but I mean, just okay. So you're punting one spot. But other than that, the lineup doesn't look all that bad. You got a FanDuel, it's a different story. FanDuel, you probably never have to play any guys like Peraza or anything like that. So you can see that, like, what's the purpose of a vomit stack? So let's say the Pirates, like I joked about the Pirates before. Oh, I'm going to stack the Pirates against Gant. Okay, so let's do it. Let's play Frazier, Newman, Reynolds, Stallings, Polanco. Let's just do it like that. Optimize. It doesn't even, it leaves 1,000 on the table. Snell Wheeler, which is the top pitching combination, pays up for Freeman, pays up for Turner, pays, and still has Meadows in there. Right? It leaves 1,000 on the table. So how do you stack the Pirates? I stacked them with the highest raw points players. Well, in order to stack the Pirates, you're going to be playing the same. Every Pirate stack is going to look like this. It's going to look like something like this. Because why wouldn't you? That's the problem. That's what it comes down to. That the Snell Wheeler, like, I would play these types of stacks when it would be the type of slate where how do you get Snell and Wheeler together? Like, people like that. No one could do that. You can't do that without playing the Pirates. You can't do that without playing the Marlins, without playing the Tigers or the Mariners. But when you can play the chalk pitcher combination, two higher price pitchers. I mean, it's not like studs, 10K and 8,900. And you could do that even without playing the Pirates. I mean, like, just, you could do that with playing other teams. Right? So, I mean, if we just take a look at the pure optimal as of now, just as of now. Let's go here. Where's Snell? Wheeler. And Snell, Wheeler, and you get a whole bunch of, Schwarber, Meadows, Harper. I mean, like, if you wanted to stack Tampa, for instance, you could play Snell, Wheeler. Right? All the chalk you could start, like, if Tampa's the chalk, or the Braves are chalky, or the Phillies are chalky, or I mean, all of these combinations could work with Snell and Wheeler. Just like yesterday, Cole Darvish. That's how most of the lineups were. But when I was playing vomit stacks before the pricing was this soft on some of these hitters, like, it's like, oh, Cole would be owned or Darvish would be owned, but there wouldn't be as many lineups with Cole and Darvish. Could you be like, how do you make a Cole Darvish lineup without stacking Tigers? So Kikuchi would be the chalk. It would end up being, you'd play one of these two guys and Kikuchi would be like 60% owned here against the Tigers. Because you wouldn't be able to fit in any bats. I mean, you could, it's just all cheap bats. But now when you could roster $2,800 this guy, $2,600 like that are 1,000 underpriced, when there are guys that are at the 3,200 that should be 4,000, you could much easier to make these double stud lineups, which means the usefulness of vomit stacks goes way down. The whole purpose was so you could play two stud pitchers and get a team that could put up 8 runs. The Tigers put up 8 runs. Oh, okay, I could do it. And then you have 3 expensive one-offs. You have Acuna and you have Harper and you have whatever. Right? You play Tatis or whatever at shortstop, and you go, okay, if those 3 guys have good games, and this team puts up 8 runs, I'm the only one that can have this combination because you can. Now I have 2 great pitchers that have put up 35 points each. All I need is the stack to do well, and it's the crappiest stack, and no one wants to play him. But now you can. That's why you've seen most of my builds. I don't talk that much about vomit stacks anymore. Until the prices come up. Until if that happens. I mean, it doesn't happen on FanDuel. Typically vomit stacks aren't a FanDuel thing because their pricing is soft enough as it is across the board. And on DraftKings, it used to be like much tighter pricing. It's like, no, I'm gonna jam in Bieber and DeGrom, right? DeGrom's 12.5, And Bieber's 11-8, and I still could make a line. But you could still do that. So I'm not annoyed by it. It's just that you have to change your strategies. You have to evolve. You have to learn to move on. So you don't hear me. You're right. It's been 6 weeks into the season. I don't talk about vomit stacks much at all. Okay. So let's see. Anything else? Through the YouTube chat. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out the door. On your way out the door. 14-game slate tonight. Right? Some weather concerns. We got MLB DFS live coming up later today on the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. We got premium crunch time with Roth and Cheese and someone, and there'll be people there. Sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. Hit the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. You get LineupHQ. You get the Discord. You get all the premium stuff, all the content, all the stack pages and tools, slate IQ, and everything. And that's how I build my lineups. I use the RotoGrinders stuff myself. So we'll see what happens on this 14-game slate. Review it tomorrow, because that's what I do here every morning, 11 a.m., Monday through Friday, for the DFS pregame show at RotoGrinders.com.